If you can find the rule that forbids me from playing traps like a scrub, I'll stop, Mr. Wheeler. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with all the ads on Yugioh organization, Avery LR32 here, and destroy the ever-living boo-boo, staying off that like and subscribe button as we climb on into some maze of the master reveals, ladies and gentlemen. I was very excited to see what this set was all about, especially the ODION traps. Really quick though, before we get into these, I do want to talk about the set list for Maze of the Master that Yugioh organization posted. We are actually getting some pretty good reprints. For one thing, we're basically getting the entire Sword, Soul, and Gladiator Beast deck reprints as like supers and rares in this set. We're also getting a Molcharmy Perulia reprint, which sucks for me because I just bought Perulias off of a buddy of mine, so those are going to drop. And of course, 7th Tachyon is a secret and collector's rare. There's really no surprise there. So let's get into the, I guess, TCG exclusive reveal cards in the new ODION cards. So this is to support like Temple of the Kings and all that good jazz. So this is the man with the mark. Level 4 Earth, Spellcaster, Effect Monster, 1000 attack and defense. And yes, I have already read these cards in advance, so I can at least give a decent idea of how good I think these are. If this card is normal special summon, you can take one Temple of the Kings or one spell or trap that mentions it from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. This is actually pretty good because the new Temple of the Kings field spell is treated as Temple of the Kings while it's on the field. You can only use this effect of the man with the mark once per turn. While you control Temple of the Kings, this card and Apopus monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Temple of the Kings you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if you watch the anime with ODION versus Joey Wheeler, he was using traps like embodiment of Apopus and all that. And spoiler alert, they got some new fusions that use the Apopus monsters, which is pretty cool. So then we have a retrain of Mythical Beast Circuit. This is Merciless Scorpion of Circuit. Level 6 Earth Fairy Effect Monster, 2500 attack, 2000 defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one level 10 monster from your hand or deck. Okay, while you control Temple of the Kings. You can only special summon Merciless once per turn this way. Once per turn during a main phase, you can add one Temple of the Kings or one spell that mentions it from your deck to your hand. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's original attack. Not bad. I hate that you have to have Temple of the Kings. Granted, they've got the field spell now that's treated as Temple of the Kings while on the field, so like you can just terraforming into the field spell, and then this is online. Banishing a level 10 or higher monster is interesting because you can banish the Winged Dragon of Ra, and the reason why I bring up Ra specifically is because Ra has a new support spell that lets you special summon it from your hand or banishment, and then at the end of the next turn it bounces back to your hand. We'll be talking about that in a minute. So this does fetch you Ra, so that is interesting. Ra also has some support cards that are traps, and this deck revolves around traps, so that seems kind of hot. Anubis the Last Judge. So level 10 Earth Fiend Effect Monster, 3000 attack, 0 defense. You can also banish this off of the circuit thing. Cannot be normal summon or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or grave. While you have 3 or more cards in your graveyard with different names that are Temple of the Kings and or traps by placing 2 of them on the bottom of the deck in any order. Still really interesting to be reading that. I've read this card like 3 times. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Add one the man with the mark from your deck to your hand. If a spell or trap or spells or traps, plural, you control is destroyed by card effects, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use each effect of Last Judge once per turn. Every time I read Man of the Mark, I keep on thinking of Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. I don't know why. Divine Serpent Apopus, or some people say Apopus, but ODION says Apopus in the dub, so we go in with Apopus. Level 6 Earth Reptile Fusion Effect Monster, 2800 attack, 2600 defense. Requires 2 monsters that mention Temple of the Kings. Side note, Shizu's cards were Earth Fairy, so I feel like maybe there's some sort of synergy here. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like there's some sort of synergy with Medora and Keldeo since they're Earth Fairies with like Exchange of the Spirit. Maybe. I could be wrong. I just know that her stuff was like mostly Earth Fairy. 2 monsters that mention Temple of the Kings must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing 2 Apopus monsters. That's really easy to do, quite honestly. Once per turn, you can target up to 3 Apopus traps with different names in your grave. Set them. Once per turn, if a trap card is activated except during the damage step, you can target one card your opponent controls and pop it. That is a soft once per turn. Yeah, that's a soft once per turn. So you get multiples of these out, and then you're just able to pop stuff. And this says if a trap card is activated. So keep in mind that Argus Star is a trap-based deck. and you're playing the Apopus monsters in that. So you could play this in the extra deck, since like you really don't go into the extra deck much. You could play this, and then once you activate like an Argostar trap, you can pop a card. And then if you have the field spell up, you also get a negate. That's honestly pretty good. Divine Scorpion Beast of Serket. Level 6 Earth Fairy Fusion Effect Monster, 3000 attack, 2000 defense. Requires one Serket monster plus one monster with 2500 or less attack. If this card is special summoned or at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it. Okay, cool. So you just get to banish a Fiendsmith card. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the banished monster's original attack. Only use this effect of Serket once per turn. Can make a second attack during each battle phase while a level 10 or higher monster is banished. So basically, like if you have Raw banished, Sin can attack twice. That's kind of cute. And this is the Temple of the King's field spell, Treasures of the Kings. Field spell, when this card's activated, you can set one Apopus trap from your deck. This card's name becomes Temple of the Kings while in the field zone. Once per turn, if you have two or more set cards on your field or a trap in your grave, you can have one monster that mentions Temple of the Kings from your deck to your hand. Only activate one Treasures per turn. This card seems fucking disgusting. I'm not going to lie. And then this is Defense of the Temple, normal spell. Fusion summon one Earth Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. If you use a monster that mentions a monster you control that mentions Temple of the Kings, you can also use face-up monsters your opponent controls as material, which just seems disgusting. If you control Temple of the Kings, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Add one Dangers of the Divine from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn, which is this right here, the raw support, Dangers of the Divine. So quick play spell. Pay half your life points, then tribute one monster. Special summon one the Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or banishment, ignoring its summoning conditions, and make its attack and defense 4000, but it cannot attack. Also, during the end phase of the next turn, return it to the hand. So, just reading this first sentence, you may think, well, that's kind of bad, right? Because, you know, it doesn't really do you anything. But keep in mind, you can banish Ra off of one of these here, since it's, where is it, like this thing or this thing. Since it's level 10, you don't mind it coming back to your hand. So the second paragraph or sentence, whatever here is, this card is sent for the field of the grave. Choose one, the Winged Dragon of Ra in your monster zone, and send all other monsters onto the field of the grave. Only use each effect once per turn. So you activate it, you summon out Ra, it goes to grave. You then use that effect, and it just nukes the board. I don't think that's actually very terrible. Keep in mind, too, that Ra does have, like, trap support cards. So you can maybe play those in, like, this ODION-themed deck. Again, though... Man, Ra is just such a hard card to play. Like, I don't know how you would even really fit it into here, but it's going to be interesting to see people mess with this. Like, seeing God card support, I'll never be upset about. Still wish that God cards could be tier 1 at some point. Verdict of Anubis, counter trap. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control 3 or, that's a typo, it's not 3 of more, 3 or more other spells or traps. Negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Then if you control Temple of the Kings, which you most likely will, you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the total attack of those destroyed monsters. Notice that it says half of the total attack, not half of the total original. So like if they were being boosted by, like, say, a duo drive, then they'll take that increased boosted damage. You can only activate one Anubis per turn. So years ago, there was a card that was played as a counter trap. It's called, I think, Judgment of Anubis. So it's cool to see basically a retrain of that in this card. And we have a brand new Apopus card, Apopus the Serpent, continuous trap. Special on this card is a normal monster, Reptile Earth, level 4, attack 16, defense 18. This card's also still a trap, so hey, you know what that means. You can play it in Argostar. Then you can set one Apopus trap from your deck except Serpent. It can be activated this turn. If this card's sent to the graveyard, you can have one embodiment of Apopus from your deck to your hand. Only use each effect once per turn. Cool, so you're going to activate the Apopus. You're going to set the Apopus the Swamp Deity, the one that negates cards, and then just, like, negate a bunch of cards. So what's interesting is that I just said that, and someone brought it up here in the comments, if I could find it. Here it is. So who wants to negate a ton with Apopus the Swamp Deity? That new trap and fusion makes 5 negates easily by only using the one. Summon it, set Swamp, contact Fuse, add Embodiment, Fusion, set the 2 engrave, and set Embodiment. Chain all 3, negate 2, then set a Swamp that you can activate and negate 3 more. Anubis is not quite God, and a not quite that Anubis. Really interesting combo line that someone has already come up with when these just got revealed, like, not even an hour ago. So I'm really excited for these cards. Is this deck going to be tier 1? No, no way in hell. Keep in mind that Temple of the Kings did get a retrain, or not even a retrain, got an errata. It used to be years ago back in the day that you could set traps and then activate them in the same turn. Now you only get to do that with one trap per turn. So Like if you set, I don't know, you could set like say Call the Haunted with Temple of the Kings up and then immediately activate that Call the Haunted, right? Or like in this deck's case, you got Temple of the Kings up, you could set the Apopus Serpent and then immediately activate it to summon it since you have Temple of the Kings up. But again, not as good as its pre-errata self. But is this deck going to be good? No. Is it going to be rogue? Probably not. I don't think you're going to have to really worry about this deck. It's going to be interesting to see how people mess around with this in Argostar, though, since that's a trap-based deck. And who knows? Maybe, like, with the Raw support, maybe this was, like, the archetypal monsters, per se, that the Winged Dragon of Ra needed to be good. To where like you could kind of spam it out. So I'm definitely going to be messing around with it because it does seem hella fun at the very least. Like, you know, if we can consistently drop out Raw in its other forms, that actually seems kind of good. Because keep in mind, like once you get Raw in rotation, it's pretty easy to get out the other bodies. Like I think even Phoenix mode says like if Raw leaves the field, then you can summon it. So I think even with the this spell here, if this bounces Raw back to your hand, I think you can get the Phoenix mode. Don't quote me on that. But if you can, that seems really busted because then it coming back to your hand doesn't really matter. So I do wish that this quick play spell would let you get it from the deck though. But guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. I know it just came out, but these are like my initial thoughts. Maybe there's some like really broken combo I'm missing. But I think the Verdict of Anubis is really cool. The Dangers of the Divine is really cool. I just think this whole archetype is really cool. Like I was really excited to see what these cards would do, and having a Circuit fusion and a Apopus fusion, like that's cool. That's pretty cool. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.